Anna moved in, took over our home, and now she's trying to replace my mom. When I finally confronted her, my dad shocked me by siding with her and threatening to send me away. Is my family really slipping through my fingers? At first, it was fine. Anna made herself useful around the house, she cooked, did laundry, and even helped me set up a new bookshelf in my room. She brought her cat, Mittens, who was actually pretty chill and didn't cause any issues. But after a few weeks, Anna started changing things around the house. She rearranged the living room without asking, replaced our curtains with ones she liked, and reorganized the kitchen cabinets. I was annoyed but stayed quiet, thinking it might just be temporary. But it didn't end there. She started only cooking meals she liked, and suddenly, our usual family dinners disappeared. Instead, we had her vegetarian lasagna, quinoa salads, and tofu stir-fries. I'm not a picky eater, but I missed our regular food. She also started moving my things around. I'd come home to find my jacket hung up when I'd left it on the chair, or my shoes lined up neatly when I'd kicked them off by the door. It felt like she was trying to erase my presence in my own home. Soon, Anna started complaining about me to my dad. She'd tell him how messy my room was, how I left my clothes all over the place, and how I needed to clean up after myself more. To my surprise, my dad took her side. He told me I needed to be more responsible and respect Anna's efforts to keep the house clean. I was shocked. My dad had never complained about these things before. Sure, I'm not the neatest person, but it had never been an issue until Anna came along. I felt like she was trying to change everything about our lives, including me. I stopped talking to Anna after that. I'd give her one-word answers when she tried to talk to me. I started spending more time in my room to avoid her. I even started eating out more often to avoid her meals. My dad noticed the tension and tried to talk to me about it. He said I was being disrespectful to Anna and that I needed to make more of an effort. I told him that I felt like Anna was taking over our lives and changing everything. He said I was exaggerating and that Anna was just trying to help. I couldn't believe my dad couldn't see what was happening. It felt like he was choosing Anna over me. I told him that I didn't want Anna living with us anymore. I said she had overstayed her welcome and needed to find her own place. My dad got angry. He said Anna was his girlfriend and had every right to be there. He accused me of being selfish and immature. We had a big argument. I was hurt and angry. Things have been really tense since then. Anna still lives with us, but I barely acknowledge her presence. My dad and I hardly talk anymore. The atmosphere at home is awful. I feel like I'm losing my family and my home because of Anna. But I also feel guilty for causing so much conflict. Maybe I am being selfish and immature. Maybe I should just accept that things are changing and try to get along with Anna. Update: wow. I didn't expect this post to blow up like this. Thank you all for your responses. I'll try to answer some common questions and provide more details. For those of you who want to know about my mom, she died in a car accident when I was 2. A drunk driver hit her car head-on. My dad was devastated. He threw himself into raising me, but it was hard for him. We have photos of her around the house. And my dad has always been open about talking about her. I don't remember her, but I've grown up hearing stories about how kind and funny she was. My relationship with my dad before Anna came into our life was really close. He was always supportive of my interests and helped me through tough times in school. We could talk about anything. That's why this situation hurts so much. I feel like I'm losing my best friend. Now Anna has been making some major changes. Not just big ones, but small ones as well. She changed our laundry detergent because she didn't like the smell of our old one. She rearranged all our family photos, putting some away and prominently displaying others. She even tried to change our Wi-Fi password because she thought it wasn't secure enough. At first, she tried to act like a mother figure, giving me advice about my job and personal life. When I didn't respond well to that, she started criticizing me to my dad instead. She's never outright rude to my face, but she makes a lot of passive-aggressive comments. My father has always been a bit of a people pleaser, but never to this extent. It's like he's a different person around Anna. He agrees with everything she says and does. I've tried talking to him alone, but he always defends her. I appreciate all the advice and perspectives. It's given me a lot to think about. I'll try to respond to more comments when I can. Things got much worse since my last update. What happened a few days ago completely changed everything. It was Friday evening, and my dad was out at a work dinner. Anna was supposed to be visiting her sister, so I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to have some friends over. I invited Emily, Jake, and Sophia for a movie night. They arrived around 7 p.m. We made popcorn, grabbed some sodas, and settled into the living room to watch a new horror movie. For the first time in weeks, I felt relaxed in my own home. We laughed, jumped at the scary parts, and just acted like normal teenagers. Halfway through the movie, we heard the front door open. My heart sank when I realized it was Anna. She was home early. Anna walked into the living room, greeting me with a tone that was friendly but had an edge to it. She mentioned she didn't know I was having friends over. I paused the movie and explained that we were just watching a film and that Dad had said it was okay. Anna nodded, but she didn't look happy. She looked around the room, her eyes lingering on the popcorn bowls and soda cans. She reminded me that I had chores to do and that my room was a mess. I felt my face get hot with embarrassment. My friend shifted uncomfortably on the couch. I told her I'd clean it tomorrow, as we were in the middle of a movie. Anna's expression hardened. She insisted that I should do it now, saying it wouldn't take long if I did it right away. I repeated that I'd do it tomorrow, trying to keep my voice calm. I added that we were almost done with the movie. What happened next still feels unreal. Without another word, Anna walked over to the TV and switched it off. The room went silent. Jake protested, saying we were watching that. Anna ignored him and turned to face me. She used my full name, Elizabeth, her voice low and threatening. She demanded that I clean my room now and said she wouldn't ask again. I couldn't believe what was happening. Being scolded like a child in front of my friends by someone who wasn't even my mom or stepmom, it was humiliating and infuriating. Something inside me snapped. I stood up, my hands shaking with anger. I shouted at her, asking who she thought she was. I told her she wasn't my mother and had no right to order me around like this. Anna's eyes widened in shock, but she quickly recovered. She declared that she was an adult in this house and that I would show her respect. I laughed bitterly at the mention of respect. I pointed out that she had shown zero respect for me or my dad since she moved in. I accused her of changing everything about our home, criticizing everything I do, and now trying to control my life. My friends were frozen on the couch, watching us argue. I knew I should probably stop, but months of pent-up frustration were pouring out of me. I continued, my voice breaking, telling Anna that she had made my life hell. I said this was my home, and she had turned it into a place I couldn't stand to be. I accused her of taking my dad away from me and told her I hated what she had done to us. Anna's face went pale with anger. Without another word, she turned and stormed out of the room. I heard her bedroom door slam shut. The silence that followed was deafening. My friends looked at me with a mixture of concern and awe. Emily softly asked if I was okay. I sank back onto the couch, suddenly feeling drained. I apologized to my friends, saying I didn't mean for this to happen. Sophia put her arm around me and told me not to apologize. She said Anna sounded awful and that I had every right to stand up for myself. We sat there for a while, my friends offering words of support and comfort. Eventually, they decided it was best to head home. As they were leaving, Jake told me that if I needed a place to stay, his parents said I was always welcome at their house. I thanked him, but at that moment, I still believed I could work things out with my dad. I was wrong. About an hour after my friends left, I heard my dad's car pull into the driveway. My stomach churned with anxiety. I knew Anna would tell him what happened, but I hoped I'd have a chance to explain my side of things. I heard hushed voices in the hallway, then footsteps approaching my room. My dad burst in, his face red with anger. He used my full name, Elizabeth Marie Thompson, and demanded to know what I was thinking. Before I could respond, he started yelling. He said Anna had told him everything. He asked how I dared to speak to her like that after everything she had done for us. He said she had been nothing but kind and helpful, and this was how I repaid her. I tried to interrupt, to explain my side of things, but he wouldn't let me speak. He continued, saying he'd had enough of my attitude. He pointed out that I'd been sullen and disrespectful ever since Anna moved in. He said he thought I'd grow out of it, but clearly he was wrong. I finally managed to interject, pleading with him to understand. I tried to explain that Anna had been. He cut me off, saying I didn't understand. He declared that Anna was a part of this family now, whether I liked it or not. He said it was time I started treating her with the respect she deserved. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was like my dad had been replaced by a stranger. The man who had always listened to me, who had been my best friend and confidant, was nowhere to be found. He then said that if I couldn't behave and treat Anna with respect, then maybe I needed some time away to think about my actions. He mentioned he'd been talking to my Aunt Sarah, who was willing to let me stay with her for a while if this behavior continued. My blood ran cold. Aunt Sarah lived 3 states away. Sending me there would be like exile. I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, if he'd really send me away. For a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of uncertainty in my dad's eyes. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by stern resolve. He confirmed that if that's what it took to teach me how to behave, then yes, he would. He left my room then, leaving me shocked and devastated. I couldn't process what had just happened. My own father had chosen Anna over me. He was willing to send me away rather than listen to my side of the story. I don't remember making a conscious decision to leave. I just knew I couldn't stay in that house another minute. I grabbed my backpack, stuffed it with some clothes and essentials, and climbed out my window. I walked for a while, not sure where I was going. Eventually, I found myself at Emily's house. Her parents were surprised to see me, but they could tell something was wrong. They let me in and listened as I broke down and told them everything. Emily's parents were incredibly understanding. They set me up in their guest room and told me I could stay as long as I needed. I was grateful, but I felt guilty for imposing on them. The next morning, my phone was filled with missed calls and texts from my dad. Some were angry demands that I come home immediately. Others were worried pleas to let him know I was safe. I only responded once to let him know I was okay, but that I needed some time. I spent the next few days at Emily's house, trying to figure out what to do. I couldn't bear the thought of going back home. The idea of living under the same roof as Anna, knowing that my dad would always take her side, made me feel sick. Emily's parents were great. They gave me space to think and told me I was welcome to stay as long as I needed. But I knew that wasn't a long-term solution. I was only 16. I didn't have many options. I thought about reaching out to my Aunt Sarah myself. Even though my dad meant it as a punishment, maybe living with her for a while wouldn't be so bad. At least it would get me away from Anna. But the thought of leaving my school, my friends, and my whole life behind was terrifying. Part of me wanted to fight. To go back home and stand my ground. To make my dad see how Anna had been manipulating him and changing our lives. But I was afraid. Afraid that he wouldn't listen. That he'd choose Anna over me again. I missed my mom more than ever during those days. I wished she were there to help me. To stand up for me. I found myself looking at her photos on my phone. Wondering what she would do in this situation. On the third day of staying at Emily's, I decided I needed to talk to my dad face to face. I asked Emily to come with me for support. We walked to my house, my heart pounding with every step. When we got there, my dad was in the living room. He looked tired and worried. Anna was nowhere to be seen. My dad stood up when he saw me, expressing relief that I was okay and asking where I had been. I told him I'd been at Emily's and that I needed some time to think. My dad nodded. He looked like he wanted to hug me, but he held back. He asked if we could talk. I nodded and we sat down. Emily stayed in the room, sitting quietly in a corner. Her presence gave me courage. I started, my voice shaking, by asking my dad to listen to me. Really listen. Without interrupting. He looked surprised, but nodded. I took a deep breath and started talking. I told him everything. How Anna had been slowly taking over our house, changing things without asking. How she criticized me constantly. How she tried to parent me even though she wasn't my mom. I told him how it felt like he always took her side. How I felt like I was losing him. I acknowledged that I knew he cared about Anna, but reminded him that I was his daughter. I'd been here all along and suddenly it felt like I didn't matter anymore. My dad listened. His face a mix of emotions. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. Finally he spoke, his voice hoarse. He said he had no idea I felt this way and asked why I hadn't told him sooner. I explained that I had tried, but every time I said anything about Anna, he'd get defensive. It felt like he wasn't listening. My dad looked ashamed. He apologized, admitting that he'd been so focused on making this relationship work, on giving us a chance at a complete family again, that he didn't see how it was affecting me. We talked for hours. My dad admitted that he'd been so afraid of losing Anna, of being alone again, that he'd ignored the warning signs. He promised to talk to Anna, to set some boundaries. He reassured me that I was his daughter and that I'd always come first. He apologized again for making me doubt that. It wasn't a perfect solution. There was still a lot to work out. But for the first time in months, I felt like my dad was really hearing me. Anna came home while we were talking. My dad asked her to join us, and we had a long, difficult conversation. Anna seemed surprised by how much her actions had hurt me. She apologized, though I wasn't sure how sincere she was. We agreed to some new rules. Anna would stop trying to parent me. That was my dad's job. She would consult with both of us before making any changes to the house. And most importantly, my dad promised to always listen to my concerns and not automatically side with Anna. It's been a few weeks since that day. Things aren't perfect, but they're better. Anna and I are civil to each other, though we're not close. My dad has been making a real effort to spend one-on-one time with me, like we used to. I'm still cautious. I know it will take time to rebuild the trust that was broken. But I'm cautiously optimistic. At least now, I feel like I have a voice in my own home again. To everyone who offered advice and support, thank you. It gave me the courage to stand up for myself and fight for my place in my family. I know there might be more challenges ahead, but I feel stronger now. I know I can face them.